Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel. It has been weeks since I did a regular video tutorial. I did a live recently, but nothing like this. So I'm super excited to share this project with you. I finally made a long card. So I'm very happy about that. I am going to put the measurements of the card up on the screen so you can see that. But I had some of these like regular envelopes that you use to mail bills and things. And I wanted to make a card that would fit inside because I have a lot of those envelopes. So I did a little bit of measuring and I am using my new accent opaque white cardstock in the 100-pound. So if you follow me on this channel, I have done reviews on the 80 and 120, and someone told me there was 100 pounds, so I got it, and it is perfect for bases. The 120 is super sturdy. It's very thick, highly recommend it, but the 100 seemed a little bit even more perfect, if that's possible. But I am going to be using this cardstock today to see if I can do alcohol marker coloring on it, because I can ink blend on it. It folds nicely, and so I want to do the final test of alcohol markers, and so that's what I'm going to do today. So I cut a panel that will be the additional panel on top, and this way with all the bleeding of the alcohol markers it won't make a difference because it'll go on the card base. Okay, so you're with me so far. I'm laying out my stamps to figure out how I want to do this card. I've never done a long card before, I don't think. So it's been on my bucket list of card making. So I wanted to see how to get enough oomph on your card because there's a lot of space to work with. So I chose a stamp set that had a lot of images that coordinate beautifully together. And this one's from Not Too Shabby. It's called Snowball Fight. Or Snow Day, I believe it's called Snowball Fight, and I am going to use almost all of the images. I'm leaving out the snowman for today. I pulled out my Stampin' Platform and I am just using some alcohol marker friendly ink, which is the Lawn Fawn Jet Black, and I'm just going to stamp that out a few times. So on the very right hand side, there's a couple mistakes that I made in this card, and I'm going to show you how I fixed them. But right now I'm just using some masking tape so that I could mask off the bottom, because I'm going to put him on a snow hill with a bunch of snowballs on it. So I'm doing that right now. You can watch me do that. But there's two major mistakes I made. One, I got ink on my Stampin' Platform on the edge of the platform. And here you can see I just took a still photo of that, so you can see that ginormous line of ink on my card. Okay, and then I'm going to finish out stamping this up. But then when I pull, I'm getting the second part ready, and I masked off the igloo, and then I have this little guy behind it, and I stamp him out, but forgot to wipe off or cover the bottom line of his shirt because he's only half an image. And so when I pull away the mask here from the igloo, you can see that that line of his shirt is completely across. So let me show you a close up here. So you can see it's like he's half a person. So that's it. He's the top half. So I am going to show you later on how I fixed that, because at this point, I really didn't think I was going to be able to. But I did figure a way out in the end. Okay, so I will come back to that later. So I am going to color just this little child here on the right hand side because the coloring just would have taken too long. So I colored this up on film and then took to a holiday movie at my other desk and sat down and just had some fun. But I am using my Ohuhu. These are the bullet nib markers, the 120 set. I like to use the bullet nibs for smaller images. I think that makes my life a lot easier. I'm not having to deal with a brush nib. I do pull out my master marker brush markers for the background, but for small images where I have to kind of get in there, I love the bullet nibs. I'm a huge fan. I do like a good brush nib. I have the master markers are okay, but the Ohuhu brush nib, which comes in a 72 pack, I want to say. Those are really good markers. I'm very impressed with them, and they're super affordable, just like all the Ohuhu markers are. But they're very good. However, again, small images, I like to use a bullet. Okay, I'm going through and I chose for this little child here some teals and some blue grays. I oversaturated the blue-gray pants a little bit too much, so I went over it twice, which I don't think was really necessary. And when I did that, I got quite a bit of bleeding outside the pant leg. But because of the color, you don't really notice it. And I took a 0 marker and just kind of push that color back in as much as I can. But in the end, the final result, you can't even really see it. Had I used a denim color or darker blue, you probably would be able to see it very much. But you can just go over with a white gel pen and cover that right up once it's dried. So there's a lot of ways to fix these little blunders throughout your card making. I don't really find a reason to toss out a card when it comes to stuff like this, because there's tips and tricks for almost anything. So, okay. I get that little guy colored up. I'm going to move on to the hat. Now for the hat, I switched it up to a different color blue. I kind of had a difficult time of what goes with blue grays and teals. To be honest, I think picking out colors is probably one of my least favorite things to do. If someone were to say to me, color this, that color, and that color, I think I'd be happy with finding the markers to do it, but actually deciding what colors on this card, that's a challenge. However, I did kind of hit the spectrum. I have pastel colors with blue, green, got some purples, pinks. I did some dark green, light green, and red. And so I really kind of just hit all the color spectrum. I could have kept with a theme, but I figured that's not realistic. Kids dress in all different kinds of colors. So I just went with that. Okay, I'm going to move on to my skin tones here. And I think the Ohuhu 120 set has a really nice variety of skin tones. So I was happy with that. I did color up all 4 of my children in 4 different skin tone colors. I like to do that because not all kids look the same. And so I tried to make my hair color for each child a little bit darker than their skin color. Not that that's necessary to do, but that's just how I opted to do it. Okay, let's fix this half a person here. I am going to take out my T-square ruler and a marker, a very thin fine line marker, and I am just going to draw lines across as if this little boy was wearing a striped sweater. That's how we're going to make this work. I colored up the entirety of his upper half with a red marker, and then I'm going to go back in and I am going to do the final look of just making it look like it's a striped shirt. And that's how I fixed it. That did not come to me right away. That took about an hour of coloring before I figured out how I was going to do this. So here I'm just showing you a before and after, and that's how we were able to make that work. So I'm very happy about that. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the card. I'm going to do some shading in. Although my snow is white, my little ice igloo is probably white or clear. I am going to add a bit of shading to all those areas. Just to make it, because things, as you know, in nature, even if they're white, they have shading. There's always shading somewhere. And so that's really what I'm doing here. I'm kind of playing with the snowballs in their hands, the little snowpack, and then I drew in some snow hills. And I just used an alcohol marker to do that. So you can see I did some shadowing on the ground. Sorry about the skipping. The footage fairies got me. I don't know where this part went, but I started off with my master markers in the brush nib, and I just covered it with a very light blue. Now I'm picking some other shades of the blue, and I'm going to go back in and work this into itself. So we're going to go back and forth with the markers. And when I was going up and down first, I was getting some streaking, which is fine because I'm going to work at this. This background itself probably took about 5 or 6 passes, but I was happy with it. I got a nice little darker area at the top, got a gradient look. It was good to go for me. Plus, with all the snow I'm about to cover it with, you really can't see all the minute details of that blending or lack of blending, whatever you see there. I'm going to stamp out Snow Day right in the center. I thought that was super fun, and this would be a really fun winter card to send out. So I get that all ready to go. And the next thing I'm going to do is just really start to add a lot of accents to this card. So the first thing is my trusty whiteout pen. This is from Bic, and I am just going to press, when you press this down, that's where the paint or the ink is going to then flow down. So ideally, you're thinking you want perfectly round dots, right? Well, if you're pressing hard and then picking up it fast, you're going to get sort of like it looks almost like a T, like a tiny X, if you will. It's not perfectly round. If you hold it there for a second, you're going to get more of a rounded one. And if you make a round shape, then it's perfect. But I kind of like that misshapen look because snow is not perfectly round. So I went through and I kept this in real time, this first part, because I'm making all my big globs first. And those are going to be my bigger snowflakes. When you're creating your own snowy scene, I really, really like to recommend all different size flakes of snow because that looks a lot more interesting. It looks more realistic. Don't forget to go over your actual images with the snow. And when I did that, I actually went right over her eyeball. So she has one white eye and one black eye, but we're going to fix that as well. So maybe it was more than just 2 mistakes in this video. Then I'm going to go in with my white gel pen, and that's where I'm going to go nuts with the little dots everywhere. You can probably take a paintbrush and do the flicking technique with some white paint and get that galaxy look, which would be super fun and like a blizzard. I didn't think of it at the time, but in here I just went in all over the place with my white gel pen. And I'm liking the way it's looking. It's looking pretty good. I go in with a sparkle pen to kind of touch up some of those areas there. And I'm just adding a little bit of sparkle here and there. Nothing really concentrated or specific. A little to the pink and purple outfit, the snow igloo, things like that. Okay, next accent that I'm going to go in with was the black gel pen, which I didn't show you, but a black jelly roll pen, and I did the eyes to make them darker and stand out more. And then I'm going to use my Nuvo drops here in the white, and that's going to cover up, I'm going to cover the snowballs with this and the tops of their hats, just to give it a little bit of texture on the card. So we're adding, see, to me, that is the main difference between a bought card and a homemade card, are those little final touches that you have the ability to do if you so choose to on your card. Not just the interactive pieces that we make, but the texture that we add, the sparkle that we put in the places we want it. It's just such a great thing for why we make cards. So here I'm going to fix that ink on the right hand side. I opted, because the bottom was white, to use my white pen. And then on the top, I'm using a mono sand eraser to try to get rid of that. It did not go away 100%, but it definitely went away enough for me to be okay with it. So I just worked at it, and I didn't want to go too hard, too fast, because I didn't want to leave a big white streak if I were to take some of that blue ink off. Sorry about my head getting in the way, but I'm trying to blow away the excess. So yeah, I was really, really pleased that I was able to get rid of it, because I could have cut it off. That was an option, but I didn't want to make my card any shorter. So I wanted to try this first, and it was good. Because I did all my accents with the wet Nuvo drops prior to putting it on my card base, I had to put the glue on the card base first, or I could just wait until this is dry, add it to the base later, no big deal. But I decided to finish off the card this way. And yeah, that's it. That will do it for this card. I seriously had so much fun with this card. This just got me in the wintry mood. I'm one of those people that likes the winter. I like the snow. I wait for a snowstorm. And in the last 7 years, I've lived in a place where it does not snow a lot. So I'm hoping. I know, be careful what I wish for. So here's some close-ups of the final card. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, for joining me with this card. If you're interested in anything I use, it'll be listed below. Until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, a happy new year as it approaches very quickly. And here are some videos if you want to check out other projects that I've done. I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.